So I'm just about to share with you a small number of the most creative and ambitious projects that were represented in the entries to the Essential Craftsman Build-Off. And we got 150 entries. Think of that. Almost all of them accompanied by a remarkable video of the process of the creators. I learned so much in this exercise of inviting so many in our community, the Essential Craftsman Academy, to bring their offerings and make themselves vulnerable. There are examples of woodwork, of miscellaneous projects like this one, of metalwork, of ridiculous projects. It's incredible. So after 6 months, that's how long the contest was open, 5 categories, winners chosen by vote. We're going to share with you the first place winners in each of the categories, because that was one of the prizes, to be shouted out and to be pasted up before the world so everybody can take a shot at your project. And I'll just tell you what, you're going to enjoy seeing this. And I hope that you go to the link in the description and look at some of the other projects. They're stunning. They are stunning. And the videos are inspiring. So brace yourself. You're going to see a handful of projects out of the 150, including a couple that just had to be, for me, my personal favorites. I am anxious to show you the accomplishments of a few of my friends. And I hope that you go to the link and look at the accomplishments of so many more of the people who threw their hat into the ring and said, yeah, I'm going to step up and make something cool and take a chance on showing it to the world. So before I hit play on Jan's project here, Jan Meng, one of the reasons that he got so many votes was that we were all dazzled by how fearless he is. His career was nothing like this, and he didn't let that dissuade him at all. And he tackled aspects of this project that, frankly, I would have gone to the store and bought the part. And he said, no, I'm going to make everything in this project that I can possibly make. I salute you, Jan. You accomplished something here that by the book you should never even have attempted, and yet you did it. Watch this.
Engineer who lived in the city and paid other people to mow my lawn. 4 years ago, I moved out here to this rugged Arizona hillside. I thought I'd just level out a tiny patch of dirt with a shovel to put up a simple backyard gazebo. Then the Essential Craftsman Build-Off was announced last January. To make the project truly worthwhile for the competition, I decided to push my boundaries completely. A modest weekend project.
I don't know if you heard that, but Jan decided to push his boundaries completely. There's a lesson for all of us in that, and lots of the people who stepped into this build-off competition pushed their boundaries.
Turned into a grueling 6-month race against a mountain. Right off the bat, the mountain immediately threw giant boulders in my path. I decided to learn to stick weld by myself and fabricated a custom hydraulic thumb for my mini excavator. It became one of the major weapons for the war ahead. With the thumb operational, I went to work carving out a massive footprint into the hillside. However, halfway through excavation, I ran out of dirt to keep the hill flat. I was facing a total logistic failure. So I pivoted. Instead of pushing the hill up, I dropped the main pad 4 feet straight into the slope. That decision changed everything. Suddenly, a flat gazebo pad transferred into something much bigger, a true dynamic 2-tier amphitheater. Now I could add 2 levels of...
Look at this screen. You see those gabion baskets? Now you can buy gabion baskets. Highways are lined with gabion baskets. Jan made those gabion baskets. He came to the academy, he said, what size wire do I need to have in those? What recommendation do you have about what sort of stock panels? And we talked about that, and we said, well, this kind are horse panels or hog panels. And he took the advice and he made his gabion baskets. Jan.
Gabion seating, complete with rugged railroad ties forming steps right down the middle. Keeping with the theme of the build, I first built a creative mandrel out of scrap metal and wood, using it to spin my own 9-gauge spirals.
There you go.
He's making the spirals, springs if you will, to stitch the corners of his homemade gabion baskets together. I'm a blacksmith, and that's daunting.
A hand-made 6 massive gabion baskets. Then came the real test of endurance, filling every single basket by hand, selecting and locking every rock into place like a vertical jigsaw puzzle. No shortcuts, just raw labor, one stone at a time, to create a stadium seating that will outlast me. But the mountain wasn't down throwing curveballs. When it came time to mount the gazebo, I realized my concrete peers were misoriented.
I made a catastrophic mistake as far as concrete pouring goes. This is as bad as you can.
A computer software engineer, designing, digging, excavating, breaking, collecting, metalworking, and pouring concrete piers, and he didn't quite get them right. So he solved his own problem.
I've oriented the pad this way.
The structure was already up, but a structural blowout was imminent. I had to fix the problem on the spot. The bolt holes are too close to the edge of the concrete. I had to weld the factory holes shut on the L brackets, doubled up the original brackets with an extra layer of a heavy-duty 10-gauge steel, and re-drilled the holes right there to avoid the total blowout.
If you look at this and you thought I could remove this, no, I cannot simply remove this.
I reinforced the original 1/8 L brackets by welding a second layer of 10-gauge steel. They were then fastened from inside the hollow posts. To remove all 16 bolts, I would have to disassemble the entire structure. That's impossible. To make it into a true amphitheater, I moved up the tiers to build a stone fire pit, sitting 2.5 feet above the gazebo floor. For safety, it needed a handrail. I grabbed a jigsaw and traced a profile of my Great Pyrenees and cut her silhouette directly into the steel panel. To finish the space, I broke down 2 old shipping pallets, building 2 rustic chairs and burning custom figures right into the wood. It doesn't look like she cares about her metal cutout here. By the final weeks, my body was broken, time was running out. That's when disaster nearly struck. A sudden gust of wind caught the roof panel my wife was holding, ripping it right out of her hands and sending it crashing down. High stakes, high fatigue. Luckily, no one was hurt, but it was.
You can see why he got a lot of votes. You can see why he got a lot of votes. He bit off way more than he could chew, and he just kept chewing. And his wife kept chewing right along with him.
I wrote a wake-up call. That's when I fell into a classic builder's trap, trying to use recycled materials. I was penny-wise and dollar-foolish. I spent 3 days trying to weld a scrap metal for the 100-foot frames, only to realize it was an utterly impossible task with poor structural integrity. Running out of time, I cut my losses and spent $300 on new pre-cut angle irons. I got the project moving again. Best money spent. Finally, I spent an entire weekend learning Inkscape design software on my own. I wanted this space to tell a story. I designed 5 massive 5 by 10 foot steel fence panels, weaving my life stories into the metal.
You see that? This amphitheater is going to be incredibly significant to him and his wife for the rest of their lives. He included his life story, their life story, in the cutouts and the panels. Raw creativity.
Homestead animals, my favorite hiking milestones, and the computer code from my past career. I hired a commercial CNC shop to laser cut the designs. Cut it into the center panel is my personal motto. Learn it, do it. This project pushed me past my physical and mental limits. There were dark days where I nearly walked away, but standing here now, looking at what was once an impossible rocky slope, I realized the amphitheater wasn't the real achievement. The real victory was simply refusing to give up.
Amen. Okay, so he's got a little YouTube channel, and check him out. I mean, this accomplishment garnered him enough respect in this community to get enough votes to win first place in this category. The other projects are radically different, and all of them are inspiring. Watch this.
Hi, my name is Sammy Welch. I am an artisan blacksmith in northwestern Montana. Today I want to share a very special project with you. This is probably one of the coolest things I've ever made. It's tested me, it's pushed me to new limits. It's a project that I just decided to throw the budget out the window and just build it to the absolute best of my ability.
Did you hear that? This is Samuel Welch. As he says, an artisan blacksmith. Well, Samuel, here's something I learned at a Northwest Blacksmith Association conference, that the difference between an artist and an artisan is an artisan signs his work on the back. An artist signs his work on the front. This is one of my picks for my personal favorites. It didn't get enough votes to get first place in the metal division. But Samuel, I've not seen many metal blacksmithing projects that equal this. And I don't think I've seen any contemporary blacksmith projects that excel it. It's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. And it's an honor for me to even have this included in any sort of a library that I have anything to do with. Well done, Samuel. I hope you all enjoy watching a little more about how he did such a beautiful thing. So the full video that Samuel submitted is almost 8 minutes long, and we're not going to show you that whole thing right now, just a couple of snippets, sort of to give you a taste of what has to happen to make something as beautiful as these set of fireplace doors. But you can go to our website. We have a page there that's dedicated to all of these projects, and you can navigate that and see some amazing things. None more amazing than this, in my opinion.
If you've never done repoussé, it's pretty cool. It's basically taking like sheet bronze, or I think most people use copper or brass. It's softer. I didn't really go about this the most educated way. I kind of just dove in head first, as I tend to do. But this was probably the biggest challenge of the whole thing. So even though I was trying a new technique, I really did everything I could to make this the best I could so that the quality of the repoussé work matched the quality of the rest of the forging. So some of the prototypes for making these, I wanted to take a unique approach to the wheat twist. So you can see, here's one of my prototypes. I ended up just welding the ends to kind of close off the wheat twist. I also forged this down into a curved swedge. So it gave it a really unique look. I really liked how that turned out. The body is made from steel. So while this is the prototype I made from steel because I didn't want to waste any bronze, the finished product, I used 1/4-inch round bronze for that.
So there are people, I assume, in every craft that rise head and shoulders above many of the others. And this Samuel Welch, he's going to grow up to be another Tom Joyce. Check out Tom Joyce for forging magic. His degree of finish, his artistic sense, the accuracy that you can see, and the willingness to throw it all on the table, throw away the budget, and make the most beautiful thing you can. This young guy's a master. I can't carry his water. Watch this.
Another kind of unique aspect of these doors was the trees. I wanted something three-dimensional, but still on a flat plane, if that makes any sense. You know, these are fireplace doors. These aren't really a sculpture. I wanted to keep everything pretty low profile, but I really wanted as much depth out of it as possible. So these are just 16 gauge steel. And if you notice, it kind of looks like 2 layers on this guy. And what it is I textured, I created this funky shape. I textured one side of one half, flipped it, textured the other side of the other half, and then folded it so that I could have this really cool, you know, layering. This style hinges was new to me. This was a new design of mine, and I was really happy how they turned out. They have a bronze bushing top and bottom. Doors are made from 3/8 by 2 flat stock. The center straps are 3/8 by 1.5 inches. Yeah, other than that, I mean, it was a challenge. It was super cool. You know, I've been doing this a long time, but I still try to implement designs and elements that I've never tried before into every single project, because that's what keeps me interested. This work is way too hard to not have that level of interest and passion behind it. So the way I do that for myself is to design things that I don't know how to make. And then I collect the deposit and I am forced to figure it out.
What I wouldn't give to go back and sweep the floor in his shop for about 6 months. It would be so instructive. But sadly, when people come along like this, whose brains operate in this way, with both the artistic sense and the mechanical sense to be able to put together the process to invent something brand new, it's improvising. It's improvising not in jazz, but in steel. And when it is created, when it emerges into the world, it's permanent, and everyone can criticize it and everyone can learn from it. So Samuel, your work in this instance, in this video, is something that I've not often seen equaled. Thank you. So here's what's left. Don't go away. We have the winner from the wood category, the winner from the metal category. We have 2 videos that were just too good not to include them both. And then we'll wrap this up with the winner of the category, which is aptly named Most Ridiculous. You'll not be disappointed. So this is the winner of the wood department. Bill's dining table. Beautifully conceived, beautifully executed.
Hello, and thank you for taking the time to watch this video. My name is Bill Wanamaker, and my submission for the Essential Craftsman 2026 Build-Off is this Nakashima trestle-style dining table. It's made out of cherry, and it's finished with General Finishes high-performance water-based polyurethane. I've always loved building things, but have gotten much more serious about woodworking specifically over the past 6 or 7 years. I love that wood is so reusable, and especially early on, I would throw something together very quickly because I was so impatient, and then I would realize how awful it is, and I could just cut it up or take it apart and make something else out of the same wood. Or I would find junk wood put out with the trash on the sidewalk by someone else and grab that and make something useful out of that. For more of the backstory here, my wife is in a medical training program, so we've had to move a lot. I think we've been in 5 houses in just 6 years, and we've been in Austin now for the past 2 years. And while I've made most of the furniture in our home, a dining table has always felt somewhat unrealistic. The space and the tools needed to make it, knowing we would eventually be moving again, I knew I would want to start with rough lumber for something like a dining table, and it all just felt like a step ahead of where I was at with woodworking.
You see the theme? The theme is, I'm not qualified to do this, and I'm going to do it anyway. And it's just so energizing to me that the people who actually won in their categories, in many cases, didn't feel qualified and didn't let that stop them. So we're jumping forward a little bit. Every minute's worth watching. So when you go to the website, when you go to the page, when you want to see how this guy did this, because he describes it beautifully, you're going to enjoy it. I know I have, but let's do about the last minute here so you can see this thing wrap up.
Hall at some point, and luckily it comes apart very easily and should be fairly easy to transport. I could have waited until we were more settled, but maybe we'll never be truly settled. And I could always find a reason to not step out of my comfort zone. But I appreciate the motivation that came from this build-off, and knowing that I'd eventually have to make and share this video to push me to build something that I really am proud of. Please consider voting for me and this table as my submission into this challenge, and thank you very much for watching.
Oh my gosh. Look at that. Oh, the payday. So the first place in the metal category is this Prayer Alley gate by a Jamie Schurer, and it's a beautiful gate. It's a blend of fabrication and forging. I wish the picture was a little more distinct. It would have been great to have a video, but Jamie, your gate is beautiful. I like it. It was a curious thing. We extended the voting by like a week or 10 days because of an administrative faux pas that we had built into the structure of the contest. And John McDowell had entered and was riding in first place, barely. And then with the extension of time, there was a switch between first and second. And Jamie ended up with first, and John McDowell got second for just a really noteworthy. John makes all kinds of cool stuff on his ranch in Texas. And so we're going to show you the picture of the sign. It's huge. It's on a Texas ranch. So of course it's going to include spurs. Wait till you see these spurs. All right, so here's a look at John McDowell's shop in Texas. And I've met John. He's been in Oregon. And when you see the scale of what he did in a set of spurs, and you could look at the inside of his shop, you're going to see why it was a cliffhanger between first and second. Jamie, thank you. John, thank you.
My two brothers and I are the fourth generation to operate this ranch here in the Texas Panhandle, and we've been on this land for 100 years now, and I thought I'd try to fix something up to honor that occasion. I started in my wood shop and built a wood frame and brought it down to the farm shop here, and we're laying it out on a piece of 1/4-inch plate. Now we're using my plasma. We're getting it cut out. Now we're cutting our 3/8-inch pipe. We're using this for a 12 inches equal 1 inch on those spurs that I had.
You get that? That his scale is, his spurs, 1 inch on the spurs is 1 foot on the sign. 1/12. Big.
Those are our rowels we got cut out, and that's the shanks. And we're getting the frame cut out, getting ready to get it moved, and we drew around that wood pattern that I had, and then we're attacking this big heavy shop table that we have. We're standing our pipe up on top of it. This is 12 inches tall, and we're going to wrap it with 1/8 inch sheet metal. That inside was a little tough to get pulled up there. The outside I rolled on there pretty good. We got it tacked up. We thought it looked pretty good. There we were adding the shanks to it, and then we're cutting out the button holders, and now we're beating that rail down, so taping in, and now we're banding that rail. We found an old shredder we were going to use for our base to put in that tub. Got it up there, and we're getting that base all welded. Just thought we were there and took a look, and I got the shanks upside down. So
See that? He got it put together and took a look, and the shanks holding up the rowels were upside down.
I got the privilege of cutting them off and turning them over and getting them right. But if you're going to do something, we might as well do it right.
You hear that?
Kind of.
All right, hang on. You're going to do something, you might as well do it right. He welded those shanks on upside down, and then he had to fix it. What he's not saying is, man, that had to take all day. A frustrating day. And you or I wouldn't have known the difference, but John would have. Got to admire that, John.
Frame to put behind it, and we got our plasma torch table working, and it cut that sign out real nice. This sign is about 100 feet right south of Route 66 and I-40.
This sign about 100 feet south of Route 66 and I-40. John, thanks for sending that. Jamie, thanks for sending that. Between that and those fireplace doors, I don't know where you're going to see metal projects as comprehensive and as inspiring as what you guys sent. This video wins Best Video Presentation in our contest. It's a 2-minute segment of a 45-minute video on the Keep Your Daydream YouTube channel. And if this video clip is any indication, their videos are fun to watch. Look what these people sent in.
We built this 3-car garage and 2-bedroom apartment in just 183 days as complete amateurs.
There's mistakes that I made that I feel like I should have known better.
And you're about to watch the entire build happen, start to finish, in only 36 minutes. Well, the build portion. If you're thinking about taking a project on like this, Mark shares some thoughts and a word of caution at the end.
I came across this clip that I want to share with you because if you're thinking about building, I think that this is important information.
A few years ago, we hired a contractor to renovate our 1923 bungalow in St. Pete, Florida. That was a mistake.
Anyway, it's been frustrating, really frustrating, and I will not put myself in this situation again.
The project went sideways and we had to take over. But somehow that disaster taught us that we could do it ourselves. But we've never built from the ground up.
Oh my gosh!
What? The goal was always to build an ADU. That stands for Auxiliary Dwelling Unit. Around the country, they're called carriage houses, mother-in-law suites, or frogs. Finished room over garage. But whatever the name is, we became obsessed with maximizing every square inch of this thing.
Again, this is a 3-car garage with a 2-bedroom above, 800 square feet, so it's fairly small.
So obsessed, in fact, I'm pretty sure our architect will never work with RVers.
Okay, let's pause on that. Can I just point out that both these people have beautiful voices? Their voices are such a pleasure to listen to. Let's see if we can pick up right there.
Again.
We don't really need a shower that big, so we made it a little smaller, 4 feet by 3 feet. I think it's still plenty big, but what that gave us the ability to do is add a closet right off of the family room.
And by the end of this video, we'll call for final and see what the inspector has to say about a couple of newbies on our first build.
So first, second, third video presentation, and all respect to second, man, we're gonna jump to third and give you a look at third just because there's something about this young guy. He just stepped up and he kept it so, anyhow. See what you think of our third place winner. Brace yourself, this kid paces a quick video.
Growing up, I used to love playing in my friend's treehouse. So I built a double-decker treehouse for my niece and nephews. Here's how I did it. Look at all those yummy bugs. Neat. Wow. Good job, Matt.
Are you having fun, Emmett?
I'm having a great. There's very few things in trades more satisfying than a flat bubble.
All right, last video from the most ridiculous category. And ridiculous ended up meaning a lot of things. There were projects that were anything but ridiculous in execution and concept, but ridiculous in the scope and where the effort went. You got to look at it. You got to go and check out the winners and see why they categorize the way they categorize. But this last one is truly the most ridiculous and fantastic. And the guy that built it is funny.
Hello, beekeepers. My name is Tom Bacon, and it is my pleasure to bring you the new Union Bee Company Super Duper Beehive. That's right, it's a Super Duper Beehive. Are you sick and tired of having all these beehives in your yard? Well, we hear you, and we came up with a solution. With our innovative hive design, one hive is the equivalent of 8 beehives. That's right, 8 beehives. Each frame fits 8 frames inside, leaving you ample space to inspect your colony to ensure that it is healthy. What about harvesting honey, you ask? Are you sick and tired of box after box after box of honey? Well, with this beehive, one box weighs over 700 pounds. That's right, take one box off, you're done. What about bears? They're a thing of the past. No electric fence needed with this puppy. She's over 10 feet tall and weighs over 1,000 pounds. Bring it on, bears. What about ease of use, you ask? With deep, wide recessed handles, it's easy. You just pick up the box and you carry it away. And what about the lid? With the lid coming in at a modest 123 pounds, you can rest assured it will stay on the hive during high winds, but it's still completely practical to put on top of the hive. Still not convinced? Well, what about varroa mites? With our big beehive, your bees will evolve into giant bees. They won't be a vector anymore. They'll just flick them right off. Order your big, giant Union Bee Company beehive today at 555-BIG-HIVE. That's 555-BIG-HIVE.
You see why that won the award, right? He has some more to say in the postscript on this video about a tragedy that struck in his circle of beekeepers. A young beekeeper, a young dad, was suddenly and tragically and unexpectedly killed. He was hit by a car. This giant beehive was donated and auctioned and is in place as part of a sign in front of a bee business. But anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this video, this wrap-up of the Essential Craftsman Build-Off 2026. I don't know if we'll do this again. We're in the process of sending out the first and second and third place prizes. I can say this, it's been energizing and inspiring to me to see just the scale of creativity that exists. These are 150 entries out of the subset of craftsmen who are part of the Academy. If you're interested in the Academy, check it out. And then when you extrapolate that and think of how many people on this planet are compelled to make things, how many people in our lives are producing good work, it's energizing. Maybe it can help us sort of be less exercised by some of the chaos that gets all the headlines and concentrate instead on the good that comes when we make up our minds to make something of beauty and utility or just of good humor. Even if it's outside of our grasp, we just reach a little further, grip a little tighter, and make it happen. Thank you, one and all, for participating in this contest. And thank you, everyone, for watching Essential Craftsman. And I hope that we all can keep up this sort of good work.